What is up, NFC West football fans, and welcome into another edition of the NFC West Roundtable, powered by BetUS, where the game begins. Receive a 125% sign-up bonus via the link in the description below, up to $2,000 on your first 3 deposits. We are officially here, folks. We are just a few short days away from all of your favorite NFC West teams taking the field and getting after it in 2024 as Week 1 is finally upon us. But before we can dive in to the full slate of NFL football, we have to put our money where our mouth is. We have got to get our preseason hot takes out of the way. That way we can look back when the season's over and see if they wind up coming to fruition. So that's what we have in store for you tonight. Each of our panelists are going to give us a hot take that they think is going to wind up unfolding in Week 1. They're also going to give us a season-wide hot take that we can look back on in a few months from now, hopefully long months from now. We want to enjoy football as long as we can, and we'll look back and see how those wound up panning out. So let's bring in the fellas. We have Mike representing the Cardinals. We have Jake representing the Rams, and we have Jesse representing the Niners. No Norb tonight, so we will have to do the duty of 5 with us 4 tonight, gentlemen. So Week 1 is here, and like I was saying, we have got to put our hot takes out in the ether. That way they're out there before everything starts to unfold. So we'll start here in Week 1. Mike, we're going to start with you. Your Cardinals have the Bills. Now, your hot take could be for that game. It could be for any game. When you're looking at the slate here, as we kick things off in 2024, is there one thing that pops out to you in Week 1 that you find to be a bit of a hot take that you're leaning towards heading into the weekend?
I think I could just say Cardinals beating Bills. That should be a hot take enough. I'm just kidding. No, I'm going to stick to that game. I think that's kind of what I know in terms of what I feel like is going to happen. I'm going to go out on a limb here, and obviously I think the hype around Marvin Harrison Jr. is real amongst the fan base, and I'm going to have to kind of throw him out there and say that Marvin Harrison Jr. will get 150 receiving yards. I know, right? Receiving yards, and drop 2 touchdowns on that Bills defense. That's what I'm going to go with for Week 1.
Wow. Randy Moss numbers for Marvin Harrison Jr. right out of the gates. I will say, though, the Bills, their secondary lost a lot of guys in that department. So heading into Week 1, no one knows what the Bills secondary is going to look like. So if Marvin Harrison is primed for a big game, it could be against a defense that not everybody knows, what they might look like with the loss of Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde, Tre'Davious White. So Marvin Harrison Jr. looking to make a big splash, and Mike thinks it could happen in Week 1 against the Buffalo Bills. Jesse, let's go down to you. Your Niners are the last game of the weekend, one of the better games of the weekend. It's Niners-Jets. So you're going to be watching a lot of football. And the nice thing about your position is you have to wait till Monday night, which stinks, but you get to enjoy the entire slate stress-free as you wait for your Niners to take on the Jets on Monday Night Football. So looking across the whole landscape of Week 1, anything pop out to you as a hot take that you see heading into the weekend?
Yeah, I think I'm going to go. There's a couple of teams this year that are getting a lot of love, and I just don't see it personally. One of them is the New York Jets. The other one is the Chicago Bears. I think everybody's forgetting how bad that coaching staff is in Chicago. There is no reason that coaching staff should be an NFL coaching staff. I think they're that bad. There's a lot of hype around the Bears. I think, they went out and got a ton of weapons. They had Caleb Williams. Right now, I don't know that Caleb Williams is that much better at this point in his career than Justin Fields has been. And Justin Fields has been very dynamic, but he's been inaccurate. He's been a poor decision maker. And I think we're going to see a lot of that from Caleb Williams, an up and down season for him. I think eventually he'll probably come through and be a decent quarterback. But with the hype surrounding them, I look at the Tennessee Titans as the last place in their division. I don't think Tennessee's a very good team. That being said, Week 1 on the road, I'm going with the Tennessee Titans to beat the Chicago Bears.
Wow. I think that's a good point you're making. It doesn't feel like we've been talking about the Bears like the Bears that they have been because of all that they have done in the preseason. And, of course, the hard knocks, the hype is real in Chicago. That would really come down to earth if the Tennessee Titans were to beat the Chicago Bears in Week 1 So I like the take. I think it's coming from a good spot because I think a lot of people are just anticipating that because of Caleb Williams, the Bears walk into week 1 and get the job done. But Jesse's thinking otherwise. He thinks the Titans get it done against those Chicago Bears. We'll move over to Jake. He's got another primetime game this weekend, perhaps the game of the weekend. It's the Rams and the Lions on Sunday Night Football. So similar to Jesse a little bit, Jake, you get to watch Thursday, Friday, and Sunday all the way up until nighttime without much stress. So as you look across the landscape this weekend for yourself, anything pop out to you as something that you think could go another way that the vast majority of other people are thinking the opposite of?
Yeah, I'll keep it with the Rams game here. I think kind of a hot take that I want to throw out there because he's never really played in an NFL down before. I mean, he didn't even play in the preseason. But it's funny because I actually just I used a Madden trial and simulated the season, and he actually ended up winning Defensive Rookie of the Year. I think Braden Fisk is going to be an absolute tear. I think he has 2 sacks in the game against the Lions. I think he is going to pressure Goff considerably. Now, I still think Jared Verse is going to have an impact in that game, but I think the deciding factor isn't going to be Puka Nacua or Cooper Kupp or Kyron Williams or Matthew Stafford. I think at the end of the game, it's going to be the fact that the Rams have Braden Fisk, and I understand they lost Aaron Donald, but we already know what Kobe Turner is, runner-up last year, Defensive Rookie of the Year. I think Braden Fisk is going to be a difference maker in this one. And I think he's going to collapse the pocket. And anyone that's ever watched Jared Goff play football, he looks like John Elway and Joe Montana, Tom Brady, all the quarterbacks in the world when he has a clean pocket. But when you're putting pressure up the middle on him, it's when he really starts to struggle. I think he's going to push the pocket, and I think that's going to be a big reason why the Rams win. So the hot take, I guess, is that Braden Fisk is going to end up with 2 sacks in this one.
And for Rams fans, I'm sure they're loving hearing that. First year without Aaron Donald. Wouldn't it be great to get a guy in there to put up somewhat, of production that you guys have gotten from Aaron Donald throughout his incredible career? A Defensive Player of the Year for the Rams would be something, filling those shoes. And, as they go off and try to continue to build without him. So speaking of week 1, let's go and take a look at the lines for your guys' 3 teams. Before we transition into our season-wide hot takes, why don't we go around here, and since it's just us 4 without Norm, let's go and take a look at all of these games. And real quick, I want to just get your guys' opinions. We'll start here at the 1 o'clock window. Cardinals, Bills. The Bills, as it stands right now, a 6.5-point favorite. Mike, I'll start with you since it is your Cardinals. I know you're leaning Cardinals covering it. How do you see the Cardinals getting within that number, less than a touchdown, and ultimately, when it comes to the end of things, they wind up covering it, in your opinion, correct?
Yeah. I think this game's going to come down to just who's going to be able to run the ball the most. And I think it's going to be very effective on both sides of the ball. I just love what James Conner could do, and I think that the Arizona Cardinals are going to be able to hopefully run the ball as efficiently to kind of open up everything with your play action, your bootlegs, all this different stuff that comes along with the offense. So I just think the run game is going to play a big factor as to who wins this game. And it's probably going to come down to like 1 or 2 defensive plays. That's going to be like a big momentum swing. And we got some pieces in our secondary with Budda Baker and Jalen Thompson. So we're not quite a no-fly zone or anything like that, but we got some young promising guys in the cornerbacks, but our safeties back there are as good as they get. So I think the run game for the offensive side of the ball is what we're going to lean very heavily on.
Jake, Cardinals 6.5-point dogs. You see him covering it against the Bills on Sunday?
I'm going to take the Bills on that one. I do not see the Cardinals covering that. I think it'll be a close game, but I think the Bills win that by 10.
And Jesse, same question to you. A little less than a touchdown and an extra point is the spread, Cardinals-Bills. How do you see that going in terms of the spread there?
7 points or 6.5 points is a lot, I think, for any NFL game, especially in week 1. There's so many things that you just can't factor for. It's always a squirrely week. It's a little bit crazy. And I think these 2 teams are closer roster-wise than Bills fans maybe want to admit, but Josh Allen is the great equalizer. And I think Josh Allen's enough for them to win. I don't know that he's enough for them to cover, though. 6.5 points is a lot. I'll take Arizona.
Let's go to the Sunday nighter. A lot closer is the spread. 3.5-point dogs are the LA Rams. Mike, going to be a hell of a game. It's pretty much a toss-up. The home team typically gets about 3 points, so they're looking at this one to be a very close one. Do you see the Rams covering that 3.5 on Sunday Night Football?
No, I think I have the Lions winning on this one, just because of the duo they have, the tandem and the running backs with Montgomery as well as Gibbs. I think this is going to be a good game to watch. Obviously, probably one of my favorites in Sunday nights. A really good showdown, but I think I got the Lions winning this one.
Jake, the better question for you would be, do you think there's more value in taking that 3.5 and allowing some room for a close loss for the Rams, or are you recommending going straight up on that money line plus 163 for LA?
I'd go right to the money line. If this is the first time that they were playing each other, that'd be different. But I mean, just talking to some people that were in that, that locker room and just the organization when they lost, that was not handled well. Okay. That was the last time Aaron Donald suited up in a Rams uniform. So, quite a few of them knew that. So I think really the thing that the driving force behind this is, I've seen Matthew Stafford play better than he did against the Lions. I've seen better games, but he was incredible in that game. And if you think that for a second he has forgotten about what happened, what transpired in that, that postseason game, I mean, I think he's going to come out reckless abandon. And again, this just means that they're going to win. I'm not saying the Rams are going to win by 15 or 20 or 30 points. You asked, of course, do you go with the plus 3.5 or do you go with the money line? I just think the money line at plus 163 is just way too good to pass up on. And I mean, I understand it's the NFL, anything can happen, but this is one of those games that I can't see the Rams losing this. I really can't. I think it's going to be close, and I get that, but I just can't see them, after the way their season ended last year, getting a crack at them week one. Oh, they've been chomping at the bit for this. I just don't see it.
Jesse, what side of that spread do you lean on? That 3.5 for the Rams or on the Lions side of things?
Yeah, I said on Tuesday's show that this was a pick 'em for me. And I probably will change my mind every day this week, but I love getting 3.5 points. Like, this game is so close. I don't see either team winning by more than 3. So even if the Rams win, obviously I cover. And if they lose, I don't see them losing by more than 3. So give me the Rams in 3.5. I feel really good about that.
Yeah, I really like that hook there too with the 3.5. You can get the Rams still losing by 3 in a really tight game and end up cashing that. 1 point more are the Niners favorite against the Jets on Monday Night Football. 4.5 point favorite are the San Francisco 49ers against the Jets. Mike, how do you see this one in terms of that spread? You can get the Jets at plus 183 on the money line or at plus 4.5. How do you see that shaking out in terms of the spread on Monday Night Football?
Oh, that's a tough one. I think I have the 49ers winning on this one, but I don't know, man. I don't think it's going to be that close in terms of what it says 4 points there. Sorry, it's a little
4.5. Yeah. So the Niners would have to win by 5 or more to cover it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, that's the case. Yeah, definitely. I think they'll win more than a touchdown for sure. Oh, yeah. Sorry, I was reading that wrong. Yes, they'll win.
Jake, you taking the Niners 4.5 there as well? Or do you think the Jets keep it close?
Yeah, I mean, the Jets can still keep it close, but I think it's going to be a 23-17 ball game. So a 6-point game. And I just think, 4.5. I don't love it. If this was at, MetLife Stadium, this is a completely different, vibe. But the 49ers just signed 2 of their most prized possessions to long-term deals. That fan base is going to be absolutely crazy. And it's Monday Night Football. I'm not betting against that. That 4.5 for the 49ers is going to feel like nothing. Even if it, like I said, 23-17, even if it is a 6-point win, that 4.5 is not going to be something you sweat out. If you're betting on the other side of it, you'll be sweating it out. But the 49ers have shown they can score points in bunches. They have, an opportunistic bunch of guys on the defensive side of the ball. And I trust them because I've seen them. I know what they can do. And let's be honest, guys, we haven't seen Aaron Rodgers play football for the Jets, really. If we're being honest, we have not really seen him play football for the Jets. So is Aaron Rodgers still Aaron Rodgers? There's too many questions, and especially when you're putting money down, just go with the more sure thing. The 49ers are more the sure thing.
Jesse, on Tuesday night show, you explained at length why you think the Niners cover that spread with ease. So I'll ask you a different question. The over-under is 43.5. And you have two defenses out there that nobody ever wants to go against. So you see that number. Do you see that game going over 43.5, or do you think it's more low scoring and it goes underneath the 43.5?
Yeah, I'll take the under on 43.5. I didn't have the 49ers covering on Tuesday. I had it 20-16 Niners.
Oh, that's right.
No, I had it 20-16 Niners. So this spread at one point was 6.5. I loved that. Give me the Jets and 6.5 points. I love going that way. This other way is way, way too close. It's getting too tight. I know that you're not going to win a lot of money. You're going to have to put down 215 to walk away with 100, but I do feel very comfortable walking away with that 100 on the straight up. So just give me the 49ers straight up. If you want to have a little teaser in there, you can go with the under. I feel good about that as well. But 4.5 it's dicey. So
I think I got caught up in you cooking the Jets fans that were in the chat.
yeah.
I was under the impression.
Yeah, no, listen, I covered the spread in that one. That's for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Well, if you guys want to get in on the action, 125% sign up bonus in the link in the description below via BetUS, up to $2,000 on your first 3 deposits. All right, let's shift gears to a more broad prediction here, I guess, for the entire year. If you guys could drum up one hot take that you think winds up coming to fruition by February, what would it be? So, Mike, I'll go back to you. If you look at the entire season here, all the storylines heading into the year, what's one shocking thing that you think winds up happening in the 2024 season here?
I think I'm going to lean on the quarterback hype in this draft class. Although I really do like Caleb Williams, don't get me wrong. I think Jaden Daniels could, but I don't know. I have more faith in Caleb Williams, but I'm going to come out here and say that none of these rookie quarterbacks, Bo Nix, Jaden Daniels, or Caleb Williams is going to win more than 6 games. They're going to be under 6 games. None of them are going to win more than that. So that's going to be my hot take.
Wow. And there's a lot of good talent that's going to be playing a lot of significant football this year. So I like that take. Definitely different, I think, than what the majority of people are viewing right now heading into the year. Jake, let's go down to you. You look at the season and all the storylines going into it. What's one thing that pops out as something that could happen that people won't see coming?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to go ahead and say this is 100% happening, but I wouldn't be surprised if not only did CJ Stroud win the MVP, but the Texans won the AFC. I think they have a fantastic coach in D'Amico Ryans. I really like what they did. They, instead of cutting some of the veterans that you see the mistakes that a lot of these teams that are constantly picking at the top of the draft for a reason make, the Texans decided to keep a guy like Robert Woods in-house. And some people might just brush that off like it's nothing. And yes, that's a Robert Woods football up there. So a little biased in that sense. But my point I'm making here is that normally not every team would have, kept him. And I think when you look at this roster, look, I have my issues with Stephon Diggs because I don't like any time a receiver calls out a quarterback. I don't like it. But let's be honest here. Diggs, new area there, fresh set, his third team, but now he's a captain. So clearly the teammates really like him going into the season. They voted him a captain. Tank Dell is one of the more explosive receivers in football that I think a lot of people are just going to forget about because he got hurt. But Tank Dell could be the most important receiver in that room this year. Then you have Nico Collins. I think there's a lot around CJ Stroud that perfectly complements his play style. And furthermore, Joe Mixon, that pickup was so underrated. We could talk about, Dalton Schultz, and we could talk about, mention Robert Woods and, Steven Sims and Xavier Hutchinson and John Mechie, all we want. But the thing that was really, I think, beneficial for him is going out and getting a running back that can help you in pass pro, can help you in the passing game as a receiving back, and can also run the football. And Joe Mixon, if things aren't going well, I actually think he's incredibly underrated because what a lot of people forget is that the Bengals offensive line hasn't been very good. Okay. So now he comes to the Texans here, and I think they got some beef up front. They got guys like Shaq Mason and Titus Howard and, Laramie Tunsil, Kenyon Green. I feel really good about the Texans offense. And then obviously the defensive minded coach in a D'Amico Ryans to bring in, guys like, obviously they have a Jimmy Ward, who's a veteran presence there, but they have Jalen Petrie, right? So they have guys like that. They have 2 rookies that they're probably going to start in the back end, the secondary with Kamari Lassiter and Kalen Bullock, who they got from this draft, but they have a Derek Stingley, right? So I like what they did. A lot of people have already forgotten, never hear him mentioned, but Danielle Hunter. Okay. Jesse and I both wanted Danielle Hunter, and he ends up on the Texans of all teams. So right when you think that the Texans, they're going to miss out on Grenard. No, they did a complete upgrade over Grenard. He's a good player. Danielle Hunter is an elite pass rusher. Will Anderson, okay, after what he did last year, I just feel like if there's any team that is going to, it won't be like a shock because you can kind of see it, but it's just not talked about because we've just already given the AFC to the Chiefs at this point. And, if it's not the Chiefs, then it's Josh Allen and the Bills or Joe Burrow and the Bengals. I think CJ Stroud belongs in that conversation. What he already proved he could do last year, how his production did not drop off at all after Tank Dell went down, and the receiver room is better. I'd say he has a better running back this year, and the defense improved. So I look at the Texans as the team that they may not actually do it, but I actually have them as the 2 seed this year in the AFC when I went through and I picked all the games behind the Kansas City Chiefs. But I wouldn't be surprised if they dethrone the Kansas City Chiefs, went all the way to the Super Bowl and won it either.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people just assume that the Texans, who were great last year, they're automatically going to fall behind a Kansas City Chief, as will everybody. I think that's why what you said is indeed a hot take, because I think it is shocking regardless of who overthrows the Chiefs in some capacity. The Texans were great last year. It feels like the roster is even better this year. So I like the thought process going into the year, Jake. The Texans should be damn good on both sides of the ball. All right, Jesse, what's one thing for you as we kick off the season this coming weekend that you could see unfolding that not everybody's going to see coming?
First of all, shout out Jake. He texted me and let me know that my mic wasn't working. It was coming through the computer. So apologize for the audio early in the show. But I think we're good now. I like that take from Jake because to me, if there's a team that's in a knockoff Kansas City, it's going to be a team that doesn't have the scars of losing to Patrick Mahomes. And that is the Texans. They have no previous experience. It reminds me a lot of watching the Minnesota Timberwolves come in and beat the defending NBA champs this year. It's like they didn't have anything to lose. They didn't know any better. You had Edwards, who's a young stud, and he just felt like he was the best player in the world. And that's what CJ Stroud kind of has. That's the swagger he carries himself with. Absolutely love that take. I could see that happening. I'll give a quick hot take for every team in the division real quick. I'll start with the Rams. The Rams lost Donald. They lost another defensive captain. I think even in spite of that, the Rams defense will be better this year than it was last year with Donald at the helm. I'm looking at the Cardinals. A lot of hype around Marvin Harrison Jr. My bold take is he doesn't even get 1,000 yards receiving this year. And then the Seattle Seahawks, I don't understand it. A lot of people say that the offensive line isn't good. They're not very good in the trenches. I think that offensive line is a top 10 offensive line when it all shakes out by the end of this season. And then for the San Francisco 49ers, I know Brock Purdy's coming off of a year that was MVP-like, but I think this year he actually throws for more yards and more touchdowns than he did a year ago. That is my division hot takes for the season.
Wow. Well, there you have it. And we're going to be able to find out what all of these look like, fellas, in just a couple of days here. We made it. And Jake mentioned on the Tuesday episode that this show's been running since this past January, and there hasn't been a time where regular season football has been played throughout the duration of this show. That ends this weekend. Next week, when we're back with you, we get to recap a full slate of NFC West football and immediately turn around and preview another full slate. And we'll be doing that every week all the way through mid-January. We cannot wait to have you along for the ride. So on your way out, make sure to hit the like button, really make sure to hit the subscribe button. And as we went over earlier, tons of great lines on BetUS right now that you can take advantage of. The link is in the description below. 125% sign-up bonus on your first 3 deposits up to $2,000. Awesome. Fellas, I hope you enjoy the weekend of football. I hope all you watching do as well. For Mike, for Jesse, for Jake, and for Norb, who couldn't be with us, I'm your host, Zbot. We look forward to recapping week 1 with you next week and previewing week 2. Enjoy the weekend, folks, and we'll talk then.